Hey, what's up, Good Life? Thanks for joining me for today's 128 moment. I just want to share with you today a couple things that are on my heart. Some of the things that as I'm wrestling with what we see in the news and what we see in our world, some of the things the Lord's laying on my heart to bring me peace and clarity during these times. As we begin to see, numbers spiking in several states that have reopened, and we begin to see states pausing some of their reopening plans and even beginning to recoil on some of those plans as well, we can certainly begin to feel frustrated. This has been a very long process, and it feels like it may be very long until it actually is done. We sometimes see glimmers of light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes that tunnel just seems to stretch on and on and on. And so I don't know about you, but for me, walking through our Against All Odds series, looking at the early church and how God used these ordinary people in extraordinary ways in a time of chaos to do amazing things, really has brought a lot of clarity to me, a lot of encouragement to me, and I hope it has to you as well. So just in that vein, I want to share with you something that Paul wrote to the Corinthians. Paul, in a time of his life when he's going through hardships, to a group of people who are going through hardships. I don't mean to equate the two. Being in fear for your life, under the threat of death for your faith, is very different than our global pandemic. But looking at hard times and how Christ followers should face them, I think we can find some clarity and encouragement in that. So writing to the Corinthians, Paul said this in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7. It says, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay," this salvation, this gift of God's grace, "to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us. We're afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our bodies." Paul talking about all they were facing as leaders and as members of the early church, and talking about how even though it feels desperate, they have hope in the life of Jesus Christ. And he goes on to say this, how were they able to do that? It's one thing to have the intellectual recognition that Jesus is in control, that nothing comes into our lives that hasn't come through the filter of God's hands first. But there's a practical day-to-day, what do we do with our hearts and our minds in order to be able to live out our faith in times that just don't make sense? Well, what Paul said to the Corinthians, I think, speaks to us as well. A little further down in verse 16, he said this, and please hear these words on this Monday. It says, "So we do not lose heart. Though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light, momentary affliction is preparing us for an eternal weight of glory beyond comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal." Good Life, as we think about what we're facing now, sometimes our eyes can get fixed on the news, can get fixed on the numbers, can get fixed on the economy, can get fixed on the people who claim to be trying to solve this for us. But that's not where our eyes are supposed to be fixed. All those things, from stats to officials to conditions to fears of the future, all of those things are transient. Jesus Christ is eternal. And he has secured a place for us. And he can use us in this time of chaos to call other people to salvation. So Good Life, today, let us stand firm. Let us stand firm on the truth of who Jesus is. Let us fix our eyes on the author and perfecter of our faith. Let us recognize that even though circumstances will come and circumstances will go, we will have good times and we will have bad times. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And when we fix our eyes on him, that's the light at the end of the tunnel that will always bring us hope. I love you guys. It was so good to see some of you yesterday, and hopefully a lot of you are able to join us online as well. I long for the day when we are all back together in one place, but until then, I'm so thankful we're able to connect through technology. Let us know what you need, how we can help you. Reach out to us at info@goodlifefl.com if there's anything you'd like for us to do, anything you need, anything you'd like for us to pray about. We want to be there for each other during this time. While we're distant, we can still be connected. Love you guys, miss you guys. And we'll see you on Wednesday at 128.